Hey everyone, Sam here and welcome back to Green Acre Homestead. In today's video, I'm going to take you through the build of something that is new for us, and that is a self-wicking container garden raised bed apparatus thingamajig. The materials for this project are a 55-gallon barrel. In my case, I found a bunch of these on a really good deal locally, and as you can see in the background, I've kind of started a hoard. If you don't have a hoard like me or can't get the barrels, you're basically looking for a large plastic container around the 20 to 30 gallon mark. In addition to your container, you want some jugs, whether it be milk jugs, 2-liter bottles, Hawaiian punch jugs, any kind of plastic container with a screw top lid that you can use for the water reservoir to be buried below. You also are going to need a piece of pipe to fill everything with from the top, and then you need some dirt. Good potting soil is what you really want to use for this because this is a container garden. And then you also want to top it off with some amendments such as sustain and sea mineral. There's links to all this stuff down below, so don't worry if you missed me as I rambled on and went too fast. As far as tools for this project, you need a cordless drill with a 3/16 inch drill bit. You need a saw, or in my case, a reciprocating saw to cut the barrels in half. Well, okay, you might not need it if you're not cutting barrels in half. Other things such as a marker and level and some duct tape go a long ways as well. My method for cutting the 55-gallon barrels in half is pretty straightforward. As I laid them on their side, if you look very carefully, there's actually a seam in these barrels right in the middle from top to bottom. So what I did is took a Sharpie marker and outlined that seam so that I could see it a lot easier. And then it was as easy as taking my reciprocating saw with a fine tooth blade on it. I think this is made from metal, but works great for plastic. And going ahead and plunge cutting and cutting it in half following that marker line. Very easy. The barrels I got are the type that have the 2 screw top lids, and I made sure all of the barrels I'm using for this project have the lids, or the bungs, I think is really the name for it, although it's weird. Anyway, made sure that they were in place because I want to use the top and the bottom both for separate containers, and they need to be watertight. Got a drill bit here in my drill. This is a 3/16 drill bit, and I've got an old Hawaiian punch jug that we got some from family members. I've been having all of our friends and family save all kind of jugs like this for us for a while to get enough for this project, but I still don't have enough. It's amazing how much this thing actually will take, but that's okay. This is repurposed, recycled. Would have been trash otherwise, but we're going to use it here in our garden. So what I'm going to do is put 8 holes in the bottom, 1 on each face, all around the 4 sides, and 4 in the corners. And then I'll drill 2 at the top to let the air escape as it fills with water from below. There's not a specific science to how many holes you want in this. You just want to have enough for the water to freely flow in and out, and then a couple on the top to vent your airspace as it flows and fills and drains. And then make sure the lid's tight and put it over here in my bucket. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 jugs in the bottom of this 55-gallon barrel. That's a lot of water storage. This is good. I like it. So what I'm going to do is take a piece of this 1-inch Schedule 40 PVC. I'm going to cut the bottom at an angle so that I can fish this down into one of the jugs and it sit all the way at the bottom and not seal it, but still have room to sit and let the water flow. Because this pipe is how you're going to refill your container with water. You want to find a pipe that fits your container opening as tight as possible. If you can't get it exactly right, you can always use some duct tape or something of the sort to kind of tape and seal it around that jug to make it a nice tight seal. And also, it's a good idea to do that so that you don't accidentally pull the pipe out, whether it be you or kids if you have them, and mess up your system and have to take it all apart just to put the pipe back in that container. With all the jugs and your fill pipe put in place and looking pretty, now's the time to fill your container with dirt or soil. In our case, we purchased some potting soil and compost mixture from a local gravel mulch dirt yard that was close to us, that was by far cheaper per cubic foot than anything you can buy in the store. That being said, try and use what you can find in your area, but you definitely want to aim for potting soil, something that is not going to be really dense and compact. You want this to be fluffy and allow moisture and water to move freely throughout the system. With all the jugs in there nice and pretty, we can now take this container over to our soil and start filling the container, making sure the soil packs around all the jugs and everything down to the bottom, and fill it to where it's just at the top of these containers. At that point, we're going to add in 2 fertilizer or amendments. One is called Sustain and the other is called Sea Mineral. These are recommended by Leon himself, and if they work for Leon, they're going to work for me. I use the same increments that Leon talks about, which is 1/2 cup of Sustain and 1/4 cup of Sea Mineral. I sprinkle it evenly around the top, and then I fill the rest of the container full of the soil, all the way to the top, or pretty close to the top at least. Once you have all your containers in place, you want to go ahead and drill 1 or 2 holes through the side of your container. These holes are designed to be the overflow or the spill out if your container gets too full of water. You want these holes to be placed about 1 inch from the top of your air hole vents on your containers, and basically what that's going to give you is a 1 inch air gap inside your container to keep everything from getting very swampy and oversaturated. The measurement is going to be different depending on what container you're putting all your jugs in and the jugs you use and so forth, so you just got to eyeball it and fit whatever works for your specific application. I like to drill my overflow holes on the opposite end of the container from the fill pipe. This may or may not make a difference, I really don't know, but my thought process behind this is that if I'm filling it on one side and that jug is really full and it's taking a little bit longer to percolate and even out the whole system, I'm less likely to start spilling out my overflow thinking that everything's full, when in reality I just have kind of a bottleneck in that first little container and it has yet to equilibrate. And it has yet just to equilibrate in the system itself. So my thought is putting the holes on the opposite side should mean that whenever it drains out the opposite side, it should be more uniformly filled across the container. Again, may or may not be true, but that's my thinking at least. Alright, with all your soil in your container, now's the time you might be thinking to just fill it up and rock and roll. But If you have done like me and not put your container in its final resting place, move it to its final resting place before you fill this thing full of water. It will get heavy, very heavy. You're going to add at least, well, in my case, close to 8 to 10 gallons of water, which is a lot of weight on top of your soil, which is already wet, and everything else. You don't want to pull your back out. So put it in the spot where you want to, and then fill it up. I went ahead and put some scrap blocks together to level this the best I can so that the water level is correct and it just sits nice and stable, especially since our greenhouse floor is sloped and uneven. With it all leveled up, now it's time to fill it up. And you gotta be patient with this. This is a lot of water going in this system that has to go in the main jug and then drip out to the others. So don't get in a hurry. Just enjoy it and think about all that water storage. It's kind of chicken versus egg scenario, whether you want to fill your container first and then transplant, or transplant and then fill. I'm choosing to go ahead and fill it up in case something goes wrong or catastrophic, and I can fix it and I don't have to take my plants out back and forth and run the risk of drying the roots out. So I guess in that sense, I would recommend fill your container first, make sure everything looks good, and then put your plants in. I've decided to put our brick house tomatoes in here. These are the ones we started from seed from Haas Tools, and these are supposed to be a very good, hardy, disease resistant, rot resistant tomato. So a good one for me to put up here. I'm going to go ahead and try and squeeze 3 of these transplants into one 55-gallon container. This might be a little too much for the container, I don't know. I can always cut some out or really thin them down skinny, or if I have to, cull one if it gets crazy. But I've got more tomatoes than I kind of know where to plant right now, so I'm going to make them squeeze, crowd in together. They're just got to play nice, got to get along, and we'll see how they go. So each pot does have 2 tomato plants. I'm going to go ahead and transplant both of them, and then we'll see whichever is the weaker of the 2, and they'll get culled out. So I am planting 6 right now, but I'm only going to keep half of these. Go ahead and dig this out by hand. The beauty of this kind of soil, it is very easy to dig out by hand. Turn it under. Got some good root structures there. There you have it, guys. There is a self-wicking container made from a 55-gallon barrel, or half of one, some old Hawaiian Punch jugs sourced from family and friends, and some dirt and PVC. There are tons of benefits for these wicking containers. The reasons I like them and I'm trying them the most is ease of watering. I don't have to worry about my plants dying and starving on me, and the fact that it is a container or raised bed system that is very modular, movable, minimal cost to construct, and reusable year after year. I am by far no expert. This is the first year I've ever done these, and my mentor and educator on this whole system has been Leon. He's a fellow YouTuber, Gardening with Leon. I'll put a link to his channel below. If you're interested in any kind of aspect of wicking beds and to see what all can be done with them, definitely go check out his channel. He's an awesome wealth of information. He's an old-time gardener showing you how to grow anything under the sun in some containers and hoop houses. So definitely go check him out, and I think you'll enjoy it if you enjoyed this video. Well, that'll be it for this one. I've got the tomatoes done, but I've got a lot left to plant and build. The process is the same. It's a matter of rinse and repeat and begging family and friends for as many jugs as they have, because as you saw, this takes quite a lot. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. We love to read them and love to hear from you guys. Otherwise, take care. We'll see you next time on the homestead.